I feel compelled to tell you something that's been on my mind. Hey everybody, it's Ben the Coin Geek, ready to make another video about all the ways I can be wrong about the future. Thanks for being here today. As always, like, share, subscribe as I talk to you about the collapse of silver and gold and the destruction of the US economy. Okay, so let's be a little more clear about this. I don't believe those things are actually exactly going to happen. Also, this video is a warning video, and the warning is, of course, one, I'm going to use the whiteboard, but two, I just have to say these things out loud because it's on my mind. I don't believe in any way that I'm being, how would I put this? This is not like a scare tactic. This is not sky is falling. This is not, hyperbole. This is something that I can see happening. I can see happening. I don't know that it's going to happen, but some of you have seen things in the market change over time. And when I say the market, I'm not referring to gold and silver. I'm actually referring to, like the housing market of 2008. I'm referring to gold and silver, the silver market back in the 80s. And so some of you have been around for some of these things and some of you have not. I'm just seeing things in my mind, talking to a lot of other dealers about things, and this is a conversation that I've had with a lot of dealers. So I want to just talk to you about the possibility of, with gold and silver making record heights, the possibility that people can be taken down by this market, which is hard for a lot of you to understand because you're thinking, man, well, if you're in this market, you just get to print money. Okay. If you do US Mint, you get to print money, right? If the government, you get to assign money. There's a whole lot of layers of printing money that we're not exactly as involved with that we'd hope to be. Let's start with people down at the bottom, right? All you people down here, all the little people. That's all the little people, right? And then we're going to start over here with we're just going to go with dealers. Let's get hypothetical with just like one state. Think of this as one state. Of course, then you expand it out to 50 states, right? So there's dealers all over one state. And so all of the people are turning gold and silver into these dealers here, right? And then let's talk about maybe there are some other size wholesalers, a little bit bigger, kind of throughout the state. And maybe a bunch of people go to these guys up here, right? And then from there, they're going to use once again, you're going to some type of larger level of someone who's doing maybe refining or wholesaling. So what's going on with gold and silver? What's going on? We've already seen refiners stop buying and or delaying payments by, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 weeks. What does that mean for everybody else? Well, locally, there's some things that have already started to happen. One, you're starting to see people, dealers drop out and say, hey, I'm not buying right now. And for whatever the reason is. Now, for me, I think mostly you're seeing people, it's like some type of fiscal decision. I'm not going to put $4,000 out on an ounce of silver. So what that does, of course, is it forces all of these people here that were going here all to concentrate more to one person. Well, what happens if a lot of people are going to one or two people here, if one of these guys goes out of business, well, then all of a sudden, the stuff that was going there gets to there. So does this mean, what does this mean, right? The good Lutheran question, what does this mean? So what does this mean? Why are people dropping out? What could happen if more people drop out? And why is Ben saying people are going to or could drop out of this market? Well, the conversation goes a little bit like this. Somewhere at the top of this food chain, if we go up another level, wherever the top levels are, these people have to have a certain percentage more money than they used to have to do the same thing that they were doing before, right? And that certain percentage is like double or triple or more based on the amount of volume they're doing. So in theory, us people down here that are just like, oh, well, it goes here and it goes here and it goes here. How are these people paying for things, right? So the question, how are these people paying for things, is something we don't think about, because what we think of is like, oh, I just sell to this guy and he has unlimited money, or you come and sell it to me and I have unlimited money. This is not really a true thing. The guys that I know I know guys that have some crazy deep pockets, but also these guys, everyone in this state is loading these guys up. These guys are all loading these guys up. And now eventually this I'm going to delay payments works its way back through the system, right? So that unless this guy can absorb all of the state's gold and silver by himself and finance it for everybody, there's going to be some type of trickle-down effect somewhere. And if these guys up here are using debt, or what a lot of them are doing is these future market stuff to try to counterbalance their positions, if something goes sideways on any of these, there will be a domino effect. Now, a domino effect, for those of you who don't know what dominoes are, I can't help you. It's not a pizza chain. Well, it is, but also it's actually when one thing affects the other. If this guy has millions of dollars out to these guys, and for some reason he was doing business with this guy up here, and this guy ends up folding because something goes sideways, then what happens? Okay, now all of a sudden this guy owes millions of dollars to these people who may owe money to these people. Now, I know this sounds a little bit strange to some of you, but in the past, a couple things have happened. One, we saw in the 80s, the silver market, we saw literally people commit suicide over this type of thing happening because people use debt for this, right? Two, in the 90s, when things were, the market was super soft, we saw something similar happen with some gold sellers that all of a sudden just, disappeared, right? Like they owed people millions of dollars and they're like, yeah, well, we don't actually have the money for that. So everyone in this food chain is relying on the solvency of somebody else, right? When you go to a coin shop, you're relying on the solvency of that guy to have a check that's good for you. And it may not be good right away, right? And especially when guys are doing, hundreds of thousands of dollars a week to millions of dollars a week in gold that weren't before. And that's just because like the numbers are crazy, right? I had a friend I was talking to and he's like, yeah, we're doing $500,000 in gold a week right now. And I was like, wow. And then I did the math. I'm like, oh, that's like 120 ounces. That's like, 20 ounces a day kind of thing walking in the door, right? Which is a real deal. Like that's very doable depending on where you live. And I was like, oh man, this is getting crazy out here right now with the price points on stuff, right? So I don't know. I'm not here to be Chicken Little, but I'm just saying this market is really strange. And I've talked to a lot of different dealers about what happens when. And I had a friend of mine, a dealer friend of mine, say these words to me the other day. He said, as a dealer, there are a lot of ways that this could go wrong. And I was like, yeah. And I hadn't talked to him for a while. And so I was really good to get his perspective on stuff. As someone who's got a lot of stuff coming in the door, it's like, what could happen next? And it could go wrong. It could go sideways. And I still just have this feeling that things are not right in this marketplace. The same way that I had with the housing market in '08, where it's like, okay, I don't know exactly. Well, '08, I kind of knew what was leading to that market a little bit because of the way that the laws were structured, right? Same thing with some of this. Like if the way the laws are structured, people can do these put calls and margin calls and stuff and like, use debt. It doesn't mean it'll go perfectly. There's plenty of stuff in this system that could go sideways, where if there's a big market shift or guys at the top can no longer counterbalance their purchases with futures contracts or whatever it is, the fancy stuff they do at the top of that market, whatever the top of that food chain looks like, it could be a problem because if I don't have someone to sell it to, what am I going to do? So if someone comes, this is actually a real question. If someone comes into my shop, and gold's $4,300 and I have no one to sell gold to. Now this is the thing that people don't understand. When they're on YouTube and they watch videos, they're like, oh, well, you buy it at 4,000 and you can sell it at 4,200 wholesale and you make money and that's all there is to it. And it's like, well, that assumes there's always going to be a buyer for something, which is an assumption that I've made in the past. When people ask me, hey, if silver is $300, are you going to buy it? And I just say, well, sure, because there'll always be a consumer. Now, I always assumed that was like a 30-year slow trajectory. That's not a like, ooh, we're going to do it tomorrow, right? The chart goes straight up. It's a problem. So it's a real question as far as like what happens when, because out here in Arizona, without me shipping stuff to another state, there's only a handful of guys that are buying like tons and tons of stuff from people, right? And if one of those guys goes out, it's always been that question of, well, who fills that void? How does it get filled? Maybe there's a nice natural way that it gets filled, like economics would indicate, like, oh, there'll be a need, someone will meet it. But also, how will that affect people locally? And the big concern still is, from the time that I had the conversation back in Scottsdale in the fall with the dealer who said, hey, this took people out in the 80s, be careful, to my friend I just spoke to this last week who said, man, this could really go wrong. It's just been on my mind. And so I'm sharing it with you guys. This is, once again, I'm not predicting anything here. I'm just trying to be transparent about not only well, I've been completely wrong about the market up until now anyways, right? But also I still have this uneasiness about where this market is going and what it could do to people who get caught up on it sideways. Because when somebody owes somebody else money and a market change happens and you're relying on a third party to get that money to you, and then they don't, and then you can't, and then this person's out money, and it trickles down in a bad way. When debt goes bad, multitudes of people pay for it, not just the one or two. It's just saying it's a complete loss within the system that everybody absorbs one way or the other. So, all right, well, that's it. I don't know if I have anything to say beyond that. You guys can leave your comments. If you've talked to your local dealers about this stuff, you can just go ahead and say, hey, Ben, you're full of crap. It's okay. You can say, hey, my dealers had similar conversations. It's a type of conversation that people, I think, haven't had and should consider having, just so they have an understanding of, like, there's a lot more to this than it looks like sometimes. So anyways, as always, like, share, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm stuff for us, pretty please, and we will catch you next time. Thanks.